We want to welcome everybody to the December Oracle Temple Spirituality Salon. We meet once a month on the second Friday of the month, and we switched to Zoom due to the pandemic. So welcome everybody. Tonight we have a panel of authors, a very distinguished panel, and they've all contributed to a new book called Our Moment of Choice. I'm going to briefly give you a bio for each one. These are brief bios because each one of these people is exceedingly accomplished. I'm going to start with Diane Williams, who's the founder and president of the Source of Synergy Foundation. And she was the initiator of one of its main projects, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. She served as founding chairperson of the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns at the United Nations in New York, and she chaired this committee in Geneva, where it was originated. She also is a recipient of the Spirit of United Nations, the Golden Rule, and the PMAC Peace Awards. Next, I want to introduce Reverend Deborah Moldow, who is an ordained interfaith minister, founder of the Garden of Light, and director of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, a project of the Source of Synergy Foundation. In addition, she's a vision keeper at Unity Earth, and she has represented May Peace Prevail on Earth International at the United Nations for more than 20 years. Currently, Deborah leads a bi-monthly spiritual salon herself from her home in Mexico. Next, I want to introduce Kurt Johnson, who has a doctorate in evolution and ecology, and he has authored more than 200 scientific publications. He also is co-founder of the Interspiritual Dialogue with interfaith pioneer Brother Wayne Teasdale, and he is associated with New York City's Interfaith Seminary and American Museum of Natural History. He also is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders, the Unity Earth Network, and many other organizations, and he is a prominent figure on international committees, particularly at the United Nations. And he's co-authored The Coming Interspiritual Age and 2 other award-winning books in science. He also co-directs the Convergence radio series on Voice America and the Light on Light and Conscious Business e-magazines. Last but not least, Bob Atkinson. He's an author, educator, and developmental psychologist. He won the Nautilus Book Award for his book, The Story of Our Time, From Duality to Interconnectedness to Oneness. He's also the author or editor of 8 other books, including Our Moment of Choice, which is the book we're going to talk about tonight, The Year of Living Deeply, and Mystic Journey, Getting to the Heart of Your Soul's Story. He's a professor emeritus at the University of Southern Maine, an internationally recognized authority on life story interviewing and personal myth-making. And he's the founder of One Planet Peace Forum, and he also is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders. So I want to welcome our esteemed guests. I am so looking forward to this salon, and I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Deborah now.
Thank you so much, Laura. We're really thrilled to be here with you this evening for the Spirituality Salon. And we're so grateful to the Oracle Institute, and particularly the Peace Pentagon, for holding the light of peace in the Washington, D.C. area, where there is so much turmoil right now, and so much is at stake for the United States of America and for the entire planet. So we really honor your path, and we're thrilled to be here with you this evening. So I wonder whether we could have our little video now.
This is our moment of choice.
We are living a time when the unsustainable ways of thinking and living from the past can no longer continue.
Conflicts, injustices, inequalities, and exploitation are all symptoms of a deeper dis-ease.
Things are moving at a very rapid pace. We're in a planetary shift, a shift of priorities that are breaking up the old paradigm throughout the world.
as we search for new solutions and healthy ways to move forward from our time of extremes, the question is, what's possible for us in our lives?
We are moving into a great new dawning, a great new day for humanity. This is our moment.
How can you tell the future? By making the future.
This is the time in which we really can begin to regenerate and renew our world.
Crisis precipitates evolution, and the global crises that we're experiencing right now are informing us of the need for an evolutionary upheaval.
Spirituality is a natural form of the universe, and we are spiritual beings in the spiritual universe and have tremendous power to come into wholeness.
Have you noticed that every time you make a good choice, it makes a difference?
Every one of us has input.
This is the time to realize the fantastic power of consciousness to reach out.
We now have system sciences, we have the quantum sciences.
We have healing hidden powers within us.
We have all of the new evidence coming forth here. That we are an interconnected, highly directed whole.
The earth does not belong to man, man belongs to the earth. We're no more than a thread in this weaving of life and in all creation.
Everything in nature, everything in reality has a purpose. Purpose is a key aspect of birthing genius.
We are in such a great and magnificent period of transformation, evolution, growth, and yet we have a choice.
This is our moment of choice. That's what it's all about.
So I hope you all enjoyed that glimpse into the book, Our Moment of Choice, and the utterly amazing people who have contributed chapters to this book. So the ones who you saw on the screen, all of whom are contributors to the book, they're all members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, which is a project of the Source and Synergy Foundation. And this book is a collective vision. So the subtitle of the book is Evolutionary Visions and Hope for the Future. And in the book, you will find 37 chapters by 43 evolutionary leaders, many of whom I'm sure you recognized, some of those people in the film and others, all of whom answered the call to contribute a chapter to this book because they are so passionate about their work, all of which is dedicated to the conscious evolution of humanity. Our wonderful title, Our Moment of Choice, we credit Greg Braden with. He gave it to us about 10 years ago when we tried to do a book before, and that was not meant to be. And he explains that now we understand why it wasn't meant to be, because this is our moment of choice. So the book itself is a call to all of the readers who are on the edge of the current evolution of consciousness, which certainly includes all of you who are on this call today, who are listening to this call, who are part of co-creating a future that doesn't look anything like the past. So you will find in this book lots of inspiration in 7 different circles of topics about where we are right now and what we can do to build a culture of peace together. So I'd like to start our presentation today by calling on Diane Marie Williams, who is the founder of the Source of Synergy Foundation, and therefore the source of all of this activity, including the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, to talk a little bit about the origin of the project and the foundation. So Diane, would you say a few words for us?
Thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you, Laura, for inviting us to be part of this spiritual salon with the Oracle Temple. I love that your temple is located in the Peace Pentagon, and I really can't wait to visit one day. So the Source of Synergy Foundation basically came into fruition to create opportunities for synergy. So like Deborah was mentioning, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, and we have other projects where we try to bring people, organizations, effort together and really see what comes out of that energy together. And I know you wanted us to speak a little bit about our chapters. Mine is called Putting on Our Red Capes, Activating Our Superpowers. And that can be summarized by the maxim inscribed at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, at the entry of its sacred oracle that says, know thyself. And we know that every advance, every achievement, every movement in history of humanity that turned the dial towards evolution has always been connected to an expansion of self-awareness of who we are. And I believe the underlying root cause of most of the crises we're facing in the world right now are the result of a world-wide human identity crisis. And we don't know who we really are. And as a result, we are not operating at the most advanced level that we as human beings can possess, whether that's individually, collectively, or cosmically. And our moment of choice is really requiring us to put on our red capes like Superman did, to shift our perception of reality and to fully know ourselves as the superhumans we are in order to turn things around. And this requires transcending the limitations we typically put on ourselves and move into the quantum field where all is possible. And a big part of this is realizing that our essential nature is already equipped with extraordinary capacities. We just have to consciously activate them by really fully embracing and embodying the part of ourselves, including our power to heal ourselves and others. And let's take the current pandemic. I often ask myself, what would it look like to utilize our superpowers to address this virus? And do we need to put so much stress on the already stretched medical system and the precious healthcare workers that are risking not only their lives, but the lives of their loved ones to save us from COVID? And is there a way that we can take some of this burden off of them? And I believe there is. And I'd like to share a personal story. At the end of February of this year, I was very sick at the time with a mysterious illness. And when I felt my life force begin to leave me after nonstop coughing and not being able to breathe, I sat up and asked my body, first, what is this? And then second, what can I do to get better? And I immediately heard, drink fresh squeezed orange juice, take Mayuka honey, and sleep on your stomach so that you can breathe better. And I knew the guidance was coming from an intelligent source that I had somehow had confidence in, because this source felt very familiar. And I followed exactly what I was directed to do and got better. And I know deep inside that the guidance came from asking support from my spiritual non-local coworkers, as I like to call them. but also from my physical body, in particular, the wisdom of my immune system that directed me in a way that we were partnering together to heal the whole organism that the immune system was one part of. And just like with any relationship, we have to be familiar with each other to develop trust and a good working partnership. So tuning into all of the workings of our bodies, especially the cells of the immune system, like the T cells, that are signaling our proteins and antibodies to do their life's mission, is key to the empowerment of humanity to heal. And I was just telling some of the other guests that I'm not feeling well today. I'm having some struggles with a sore throat and not feeling good at all. But I'm going to also ask my body tonight, like what I need to do to heal myself. And just to say that there are groups like Lynne Mctaggart's Power of 8 groups and her intention experiments that support the activation of our superpowers by using the power of intention to support both individual and collective healing. And her experiments activate the collective consciousness and multidimensional abilities of the group of participants, resulting in countless spontaneous healings of all kinds, including the healing of certain people of medical conditions that Western medicine really are not able to cure. It's quite fantastic, and I know a lot of you know about her work. And I witnessed this myself in the Power of 8 circles, and it's remarkable. And I know the Oracle Institute stresses the importance of careful study, and this is so key to developing our superpowers. I recently took a course with Lynne called the Attention Essentials to further study the power of intentions, and as they're very precise ways of doing these intentions that make them succeed. So I think this study and practice is really key. So belief in our superpowers is an important element, but on a practical level, it also takes some study and practice of these various techniques, like remote healing or being a medical medium, as well as having the confidence in who we truly are, like the Oracle said, to know thyself, and our innate capacities and our relationship with the web of life. And we're all coded with the ability to heal ourselves and others. But in order for us to fully activate it, our consciousness needs to become liberated from our cultural programming, outdated worldviews, limited thoughts, and separation of all form. So sustained study, use, and the co-creative partnership with these type of phenomena and intelligences are really vital to our understanding the nature of reality and to shifting into the next level of evolution as humanity. And I do believe that this includes humanity activating its full potential to heal. And once we begin to activate our various superpowers on a regular basis, all that we've been striving for, like peace and good health, and a world where kindness prevails, will arrive, because humanity has entered a new state of consciousness. And what we used to call miracles will be everyday occurrences. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. I want to just mention that Lynne Mctaggart is one of the writers who has contributed a chapter to our moment of choice, along with others who are on that cusp of science and inspiration, like Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Jude Currivan and many, many others. I would like to step outside the box, so to speak, for a moment here. Like Laura, I'm a minister, and I would like to invite everyone on the call to take a moment right now to send some healing to Diane by putting your hands up.
Thank you.
And everyone who is listening or watching this is welcome to receive the healing as well. So let's just take a moment and send that loving energy of light from our hearts to surround Diane, and to go from our Zoom room out across the planet, touching the field of everyone who is suffering right now from COVID and whatever else, so that this healing radiates from our hearts to where it's needed most. And as we do this, we feel our red capes billowing behind us with the power of healing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, everyone. I feel better already. Thank you.
I'd like to pass the talking stick next to Bob Atkinson, so he can tell us a little bit about how this book came about, and also some of the wonderful thoughts on oneness that he has written about in our moment of choice.
Thank you, Deborah. And Laura, it's great to be with you all tonight. Well, just a quick context for the book. There was a lot that happened in the 10 years between when Greg first had the idea for the book, and then I, in 2018, I became an evolutionary leader and proposed the idea of a book to Deborah and Diane, and they picked it right up, and then we were off and running 10 years after Greg's first idea, and it was just amazing the way all the contributors came together. So my chapter, I'll just say a little bit about that in the book, is from a holistic vision, and that views both evolution and consciousness as purposeful and always unfolding toward an innate potential. Evolution's path, however, is not a straight line. It's cyclical, with built-in ups and downs, as we see in this year of lockdowns, demonstrations, and confrontations. We live in a time of misinformation and falsehood, causing millions to become detached from reality. How we understand the reality we live in is determined by the consciousness we bring to it. Some people live with a consciousness that only certain things evolve. Others see all things as evolving, which creates many other polarizations: racial, economic, gender, climate, religious, and on and on. When we privilege any of the parts above the good of the whole, this creates a response to everything based on separation and competition, which forces us to live by principles that exclude, where we approach everything with fear, bias, leading further to discord and prejudice overtaking our lives. The work needed now is focusing on the whole first, which would cause a response based on harmony and cooperation. This is what supports living by principles that unite, where we see all things as tied together in one reality. With this holistic vision, gazing out far enough, we can see a future leading to peace on earth. In this one reality, we can also view consciousness as a continuum and recognize that war and peace are at opposite ends of the same reality, the same continuum. If you can imagine in your mind a continuum with opposite sides, war, peace, and all in between that are gradations of those that I'll say a little bit more about now. So on one side of this consciousness continuum, we're guided by a consciousness of duality, which creates hierarchies, builds systems of injustice, distorts the way we relate to each other and the natural environment, and leads us through generalizations, stereotypes, discrimination, hatred, exploitation, imperialism, and oppression, ending up in racism, violence, genocide, and war, ultimately endangering our very survival. On the other side of the continuum, we are guided by a consciousness of wholeness, which engenders respect for difference and reverence for all, inviting us to inclusiveness, altruism, and love. Here we achieve greater levels of advancement toward universal human rights, gender equality, economic equity, and social, environmental, and racial justice, all interconnected stepping stones to peace. So visualizing this consciousness continuum with war and peace at opposite ends, there are only gradations of conditions, attitudes, and values in between, each one distinguished by subtle shifts in consciousness. With a consciousness of wholeness, we transcend the illusion of separation and relate to reality as one. This is the natural outcome and culmination of where the evolutionary impulse has been leading us. We are living into a new story, which tells of the birth of a new global community in which we see each other as part of the same human family. And this is the final prerequisite to peace on earth.
Thank you so much, Bob. Definitely, we need the recipe for peace on earth right now. So thank you for filling in some of the blanks for us. And thank you so much for all that you did to pull this book together, including not only your constant communication with our wonderful publisher, Beyond Words, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, and with all of the different authors of this book who are members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, but also all of the work that you did on the parts of the book. Each chapter has a spotlight following it and an action step suggested. And these are ways to help all the readers become part of this movement of our moment of choice and really to feel engaged in it. We know you all are, but just in case anybody needs a little bit of inspiration for the journey, Bob made a tremendous contribution in bringing in those elements to this book. So Bob and I are listed as co-editors, although Diane also made enormous contributions. But our third co-editor is Dr. Kurt Johnson. And Kurt is an amazing weaver of synergies and connector of people. And he's been extremely active with the evolutionary leaders, developing synergy circles for different interest groups among the evolutionary leaders, and also spearheading some amazing publications that have helped to get this, all of the elements of our moment of choice further out into the world and into the consciousness at large. So Kurt, please say a few words about your thoughts on the book and on the chapters that you contributed.
Well, thank you so much, and it's great to be here. I've had some wonderful times at Oracle, so a lot of wonderful memories there, and it was great to start the day today with our moment of choice, so it's great to end the day with our moment of choice. And as has been said, you know, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is a group of some 200 influential and really well-positioned thought leaders, including in this book 9 New York Times best-selling authors. And each of these persons, just like everyone on this call, is deeply, deeply concerned with finding real solutions for what is a critical time in the history of our planet. And from that, of course, comes the title of the book, Our Moment of Choice, which is so clearly true at this time. And in the book, as has been said, 43 evolutionary leaders contribute to 7 circles of critical concern at this time. And those circles are First one is bridge building, how we build the relationships and bridges for a culture of peace and an actual successful world community. And the second one is innovating conscious enterprise and social change and restoring ecological balance. And then also healing ourselves and each other, integrating science and spirituality, and addressing new frontiers of all kinds. And lastly, what we call the big picture, which is how you weave all of that together into an understanding that really allows for the possibility of real transformative change at this time. So if you add those 7 circles of discussion to an amazing introduction by Greg Braden and a wonderful afterword by Elizabeth Sartoris, you really have a landscape that truly addresses where we're at right now and where we need to go. And some of the authors who are in the book, who I'm sure you'll recognize, are Deepak Chopra, Jean Houston, Erwin Laszlo, Larry Dossey, Jude Currivan, Eben Alexander, Greg Braden, Joan Borisenko, Dwayne Elgin, David Sloan Wilson, James O'D, Bruce Lipson, Lynne Mctaggart, and on and on. And like one of our members said, my God, that's my bookshelf. So this really is an amazing refresher course in how to be inspired and also how to see your way towards solutions. And we were really gratified that when this book came out of the gate, it was #1 at Amazon in 3 categories for a number of weeks. And we're really working hard to keep the book in the awareness of people because it's such a short course in everything that's critical right now. Just in a nutshell, the chapter that I contributed was one with the evolutionary biologist David Sloan Wilson. And as some of you know, he and I had been invited to the Dalai Lama's home in India last November to discuss the really new alignment between the great wisdom traditions and modern science, which, as you know, is coming across all of the areas of science, not only in the new physics, but as Diane was saying, in our understanding of holistic health, but particularly in our understanding of evolution, and that evolution is actually driving toward the good of the whole and toward altruistic behavior. We've eclipsed the era of thinking of it as social Darwinism and competition, and understanding now that we understand groups and levels and how groups make decisions, that at those levels, conscious evolution, cultural evolution, are always choosing for the good of the whole. So it actually gives humanity the chance to get in the driver's seat and take responsibility for where we actually go. And I think that's what's exciting, because just like Diane said, she could take that conscious responsibility for herself in her own personal space. We actually can take that responsibility at a collective level for all of us. And I think we're looking forward to a world where we're going to have the type of relationships internationally that we could guide the future of this planet toward the real possibilities of the wonderful place that planet Earth could be if we were living at those high standards that all of us embrace in this group and on this call. So thanks for being here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kurt, for all that you do. And I think that part of the point that you've been making is illustrated by the book itself, that it is an anthology and therefore it is a collective statement. And this is also at the heart of the Source of Synergy Foundation, that it is the synergy among us that allows us to co-create at a completely different level from what we can accomplish on our own, even though everybody's individual contribution is highly valued. So I'd like to say just a few words about my chapter, which is about spirituality in the 21st century, a quiet revolution. And I think my chapter is perfectly illustrated by this call and the fact that we are participating in a spirituality salon based in the DC area, and I lead a spirit salon based in my town where I live, San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And no, Laura and I did not consult with each other about starting these salons. This is a sign. It's a sign that something is happening here on planet Earth that is catching all of us. There is an emerging global spirituality that is transcending religion or lack of religion. It doesn't depend on your religion. It welcomes you to have religion and, in fact, to explore whatever paths are calling to you. And yet it expresses values that are cherished in all religions and yet not attached to any single one of them. So I think that many, many people around the globe are beginning to experience this new kind of spirituality where we do, as Diane was saying, take more responsibility for our health, even in what we eat and how we treat our bodies. And we are appreciating wisdom from so many different sources, including the all-important indigenous wisdom keepers who have held on to their knowledge of how to live in harmony with the earth in spite of the great freight train of Western civilization that has actually tried to eradicate that knowledge and fortunately not been successful. And I feel that it is this new level of appreciation for one another, of seeing the divine in one another, that allows us to come together in new ways, to feel part of one united human family. And of course, this is the only way that we're going to be able to address the global crises coming down the pike, especially climate change. But the pandemic we're experiencing right now has given us an opportunity to really care about one another across the planet and to witness how everything that affects one part of our family affects the whole family. So in my view, there is great hope for the future, and it is this emerging spirituality that I believe is going to bring us into a whole new expression of what it means to be human. We have a giant civilization that we're all a part of, and we are, in a sense, opening the curtain on that to see beyond it what else is possible. And those glimpses into what else is possible are so richly expressed in our moment of choice through writers that I'm sure you all love, like Jean Houston and James O'Dea and Dwayne Elgin, Michael Bernard Beckwith, people who are really seeing into new possibilities for humanity. But this next phase of the evolution of our consciousness is not going to happen by itself. It needs every one of us. And it needs us to take very seriously this concept that this is our moment of choice. And we need to make new choices if we want the future to be one of health and caring and particularly, to put it bluntly, to keep us from being part of the sixth great extinction. So this is our moment. This is our moment of choice. By the way, you can find more information about the book at ourmomentofchoice.com.